we're experiencing extreme financial hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm disabled and in a wheelchair, and I have a minor child. They have repeatedly harassed us, threatened us, with to ruin our credit with eviction, with a felony because of not paying, with throwing us out in the cold. And we're both disabled, and it's just they know I've been working with an agency through this whole time to ensure payment for them, but they're the ones denying payment. And like I said, they shut our electricity off, have our electricity off to the room for a week, and then for over what was it, from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. Last week, they cut all of the electricity off. And that's very hard for someone in a wheelchair to use the restroom, let alone, just try to, when you have a refrigerator full of food that the government helped us pay for. It's just, it's not right. So, and like I said, they've just been knocking at my door continually, calling continually, knowing that I don't have the funds right now, and I'm doing everything I can in my power to until I can get everything worked out and get another debit card. And they were trying to withhold my mail. They even were saying, well, if you go out today, we won't send your stimulus check back, because they've sent some of my mail back saying that I wasn't a resident here when I've never left here in well over, like I said, well over a year. 2 years. I've been a resident here, pay my rent on time every time. I've been a resident here for over we'll go about over 2 years actually. It's an extended stay, which offers a studio apartment, and you have a full size refrigerator and stove and everything. So it's an affordable option to when some places want a big down payment, and me being handicapped, I just don't have that. So it's kind of been where we've had to stay for a little while until I can get into income-based housing and whatnot. So we've been here, and actually I had the room with someone else that I was in a relationship with, and he got verbally and mentally abusive, and I was like, okay, I can't do this. So I was like, at that time, I was like, we've got to separate. My boyfriend, which was my friend at the time, he was trying to come help me because he's disabled too. He's epileptic, and he was like, I hate you're in a wheelchair. This is awful to see that way. So at that point, I had no problems with the hotel. Okay, until I actually told my ex hey, we've got to go, and he was like, okay, I'll let you stay in the room. And then maybe that Friday he left, and I was due to pay our payment again that following Tuesday, which would have been $341.99, because after you stay somewhere for a certain amount of time, you don't incur any more occupancy fees and taxes. So I'm like, okay, I can do this until I'm reaching out to different domestic violence places and different community action places that help people in need like myself. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do. Like I said, at this point there wasn't anything going on. And then that Tuesday when I decided to a couple weeks before Christmas, I was going to try to pay my normal rent. They said, well, no, he's took his name off of the room, and you've got to pay the full amount. And I'm like, what? Which would be over $100. I said, I can't pay that. I've got my normal amount that I've been paying for well over a year. And I didn't know my name wasn't on the room at that point too. He didn't even come later to find out he had a fake ID and social security card. So I don't know how, me being an American citizen, and I have, my ID when I come here, but they were saying no. That was another big issue, which ultimately led to us putting the room in his name because they gave me no option. So right before Christmas, I called all these agencies, and I found a place that, one place where could maybe pay a week or two, and another place was going to help me pay a month until I can get into a rapid rehousing program. And I've been in touch with InTown Suites this whole time. Well, let me take you back to that day. I couldn't afford what was it, for almost $450 they were wanting me to pay. I paid nightly because I was like, okay, what do I do? It's fixing to be Christmas. It's cold outside. I'm in a wheelchair myself. I have a minor child, and I've got to take care of my family. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I start paying nightly, and then 2 days after that, approximately, they're like, you've got to have someone come down here with a valid ID. Well, my ex took my ID, our birth certificates, our social security cards, and my debit card. He took a few things from me. So I'm like, well, what do I do now? I said I've got a copy of my ID on my phone, but in my state, you can't get a replacement ID via internet. You've got to actually go in person. And I have a weakened immune system, so I have not been anywhere since the first case of COVID-19 here. I want to make that clear. I have not left this hotel. I've got fresh air, put a mask on, of course, got fresh air, opened my window, but I have not left. All my doctor's appointments have been on Zoom. My son, he does, virtual school, and I've been trying to protect myself to keep myself out of the hospital because of I have autoimmune disease. So, like I said, I'm, letting the hotel know all this. I'm like, I'm not trying to stay anywhere for free. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to get my life back situated for me and my child. So, I told my, I was like, hey, Dominic, I was like, hey, can you please help me with this? I hate to put you in the middle of this because, like I said, he's disabled too. He's a really bad epileptic, and he's actually had a few seizures since this whole thing started. Because they've stressed him out and harassed him too. I had to even call an ambulance last week for when he had such a bad seizure that scared me. So it's been crazy. But I communicated with them with an agency I was working with, which was Metro Action, and they've been really nice to me and tried to do everything. That they were going to pay for me a month, that I fit their criteria, they were approving me, and I should have been able to stay here until January 23rd. And then at that time, if I didn't find a place, I was going to pay another week, but there was supposed to be a place that would be available to rent by February 1st, and that's where we were going to move. This was my plan. So like I said, I communicated this with them to them numerous times. They called the police out here on me 2 times before Christmas, or 3 times before Christmas.
I think twice or 3 times. 3 times.
Okay, before Christmas. The first time I was really upset because I've never been to jail, not discriminating against anyone that has, but I myself haven't. Never had anyone call the police on me. I have anxiety, so it was very, disturbing and upsetting. And then not just me, my child. So at this point, I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they knew through this whole thing while they were trying to get the payment set up, because let me tell you this. I had a lot of respect for all the people that worked here. And I've always been respectful. We've not had any problems with anyone. I've never been late on my rent or anything until this time. We've either paid weekly or monthly, or that's what you can't even pay nightly here. So with all this going on, someone told me, well, you need to sign the moratorium, the declaration that says that it will protect you till the end of December 31st, 2020, which they ultimately extended it till the end of this month. Until January 31st, so that no one can be evicted. Well, they told me no, that's not. We're protected under the innkeeper's license, and we're a hotel motel. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I was like, how can you do that? You guys don't even charge by the night, so you're not operating like a normal motel. You offer temporary housing and efficiency like rooms with and I'm not the only one that's been, housing is a problem right here in my area, and they're working on it, affordable housing. So that's what they offer. You can see it on their website. So I'm like, okay, this is supposed to protect everyone because it's supposed to keep people from moving around, from spreading COVID, and are people like me too from contracting it, because I haven't been anywhere, and I'm just trying to be as safe as I can. I know my plan is to move, but I don't want to, I wasn't going to leave from here and then have to go to some, motel, or the competitor ones like this are actually priced about $200 probably, or $150 more or something a week. So, or about $300 extra a month. So they're a little bit more pricier. So this is, like I said, it's really affordable. I paid a few nights, and it's close to $80, especially if you have a late fee for each night. And they said they don't do that, but since, I'd been here so long, they were trying to help me. But now they were told that, like, they don't offer it on the website. You can't be a new guest and get paid nightly. If you're already here, then I guess they are trying to help people through that. So I ran out of, money kind of quickly trying to do that. And I'm like, well, Metro Action's going to do this. We're going to be okay. Then the office was telling me, well, no, they just kept calling and calling. Well, how much do you have? One time when the police officers came out the first or second time, right before Christmas, they were going to help us pay a week and they actually only help with so much. They were trying to help us extra, and God bless them, because, they knew, I told them I'm a victim of domestic violence myself. I'm trying to rebuild my life. I just, I'm not trying to do anything. I served them with that. And he's like, well, it's all a civil matter. I was like, right. That's what I thought, and that's what I told them. But they, threatened me with the sheriffs. They threatened me with attorneys. They threatened me 2 days ago. Well, today's Thursday. So Monday night, one of the guys come by here and was trying to show my son on a clipboard stuff and tell him how much we owed or something. I was like, hey, that's my 13-year-old. I pay the bills. I'm the adult. Please do not show him anything. And just like that, other people here too, because he's so tall. He's not on camera, but he's 6'4", so he does. They know how old he is, but I understand he looks bigger, but he's not. And the room's, not in his name, so I don't know why they would want to do that. Hey, tell your mom to pay, or y'all got to get out. You don't talk to, you don't do that to kids. You don't call her repeatedly, and just, keep saying, what. I'm like, you guys have got to email me, or you've got to put a notice on my door, because that's what an attorney advised me to do. But up until, like I said, today is the second day that they have not harassed me by calling me or knocking at my door. So I'm not sure if maybe the long email I wrote about how they were still, violating my rights, and they were in violation of the law, and maybe something got across to them. I'm not really sure. Like I said, I haven't heard anything from them since Monday night when they came over here doing that stuff, and they were threatening again. They just, like, you're gonna. Oh, they also tried to ask me to sign a settlement, and someone urged me to get legal advice. Well, actually, both of us. They asked both of us to sign it, because the rooms, they said now in his name. So I feel so bad for them bringing him into it. He was actually just trying to help me in the beginning, like I said, because he felt sorry for me because he's disabled too. So I'm not sorry, sympathetic, compassion. So they're like, well, hey, you're going to be charged with a felony, and you're accruing these charges of over $1,000. And I'm like, how are we? We don't have a key card. You guys have shut our electricity off. You did it for 10 hours one day, and I thought a breaker was out of my room for a week, but there must be a breaker that operates on the bathroom light, the refrigerator, and one outlet on the wall. Because when I begged them one night, like crying, telling them, please, will you just cut, this was last week, can you please just cut my electricity back on? It's really cold. It's like 20 something degrees outside. I said, this is not right. From 10 o'clock until almost 7 o'clock that night, they left our power off. And the reason why I know that now it wasn't a fuse is because when they flipped them both back on, the lights that weren't working before had worked. Now everything works. So I was like, okay, now I know that that's what they did, which is illegal too. I mean, like I told you, I'm not going anywhere, but I can't even leave the room to do laundry, because I don't want, unless we have to make sure someone stays in the room at all times. They're saying that we owe, but yet they won't give us a key card. They say if you needed, they were really ugly with me about my stimulus, which I did finally get my stimulus check. Thank you, God. They were telling me, hey, if which I don't have my ID, so that's another problem. I'm scared to go get an ID, because how am I going to get back into here? So now, if I wanted to move, I really couldn't even do that, because they've given me. So I told them, how can you guys have been so nice to him and everything, and weren't on about him. His ID wasn't even legal, and I'm like, when I come here, I showed you all mine. I actually reserved the room. I didn't know that he'd already been deported from here too. I'd actually reserved the room in my name. I've got, credit card or debit card statements of every month we've stayed here. So if I wasn't on the room, then why was he allowed to pay with my debit card? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't all make sense, and I don't know why they were so on his side. I don't know what he did or didn't tell them about me. I'm not going to make myself look better than anyone, but I'm a very God loving person. Yeah, I love everybody. I don't wish anything bad on anybody, not even somebody that I think is my enemy. I'm just, I have a child. When you have children, you try to teach your child how to, be a good adult, a good grown up when they grow up. So I'm just, this whole situation, I'm sorry. It's all under so much stress. Um, and they offered me, okay, they wanted me to sign this settlement, which basically was what, like signing over our right?
Yeah.
Like saying if we left here, no matter what happened, we couldn't sue them. And he said, I'm going to give you until this was last week. He come that Wednesday or Thursday night of last week, and said, I'll give you guys until 12 o'clock noon Saturday to see if you want to sign it or not, and then you have to get out. And I'm like, oh. Which legal aid had already advised me, no, I didn't have to get out because and they can't enforce me out of here because I served them with and we both signed the declaration. What it does is protects us. Well, because if you've suffered some kind of, something through the pandemic from COVID and just recently became unable to pay your rent, that they can't evict you. So they're not doing any evictions until they're not even letting you, I don't even think file the paperwork until January 31st, unless they extend that. For right now, that's the deal going on with that. So like I told him, I'm looking for a place. Well, he wants me to sign this agreement. And I said, well, if I sign this agreement, with all due respect, sir, that's I'll be losing. If I'm already approved to pay so much at this place, then I would be losing, and then they're approving me through the 23rd, and you're wanting me to leave last week. I said that'd be a little bit more than $410. I think was the assignment. Was it? I said, and then that's not even really what another place is going to cost me. You're just giving me y'all's weekly right here. Not to mention, that's a lot kind of going on right now. I'm like, why won't you guys just accept their payment? It's coming from an agency that's backed by the government, and they get government funding. So they were going to pay. They asked them first. They even tried to pay by a check. I don't know because the lady at the agency told me let her communicate with them and coordinate everything because it was getting to be such a, I don't even know what the word is for it, just crazy. Like it was this person said that and then this, and they was calling me all the time. You need to come down here and pay. One night I told them I only had $10, and they called the police on me. And I'm like, well, that's why I signed this declaration that the United States, the CDC, the moratorium to prevent people from getting evicted because I'm going through an extreme financial hardship right now. I said, and you all have known from the start, all the emails, everything, where they were actively working with me and you to try to, get us paid up for a month or year. And then there was another agency that could have paid up for an additional 2 months, I think. So it was never something like they called me a squatter. They said that, like I don't know. It was never like that. So we're here right now. I believe the solution to the issue would be first and foremost an apology to my child because they have just from the multiple phone calls and knocking at the doors and bothering him about paying when he's 13 years old, that they should have never done that. They owe us both an apology too for the way they treated us and threatened us and discriminated against us. I mean, what else? The agreement they wanted us to sign for $410 wouldn't begin to cover. I think that they should offer me, if they don't want me to stay here, like I said, I've never done anything wrong or broke any of their things, and they should at least offer, since they didn't want to let work out what this agency was working with me for, that they had already approved me to stay here for a month. I believe they should pay for me a month or give me the money for equivalent up to a month of what they were going to pay, or to pay for me somewhere else. That's what I think would be really fair, to be quite honest. So yeah, I mean, it was in my name to begin with. Like I said, I made when we first came here, I made the reservation online with my name, my debit card number. And when we got here that day, I was, like, I'm handicapped. I'm exhausted. I have, a long day of traveling. You kind of had fatigue. So I was ready to rest. And I guess we had checked in. I remember checking in, and I remember showing my ID. And then I remember the second day, they said, can you, bring your ID back up here? And I was like, sure. I went up there, and we have changed rooms 3 times. They changed. Well, we changed once because we wanted a bigger room. That was about a year ago. And then they changed me whenever to a handicap room where I'd actually been trying to get it for several months. Well, more than more than a year. I've been asking about it. Someone's always in it, so it's weird because I think they put me here once they figured out I was working with the government agency, then they wanted to put me in here. But yeah, they told me, they were like, no, the room's not in your name. I'm like, well, it should have always been in my name. Whose name was it in? Leobardo Rojas. Well, Leobardo Rojas, that's not even a real ID. I found out through someone else and when you think you know someone, I guess you don't. That wasn't his real name. He had already been deported from here once. He wasn't supposed to be here. And I didn't know all of this. So I'm thinking, how can you guys be telling me that? And they were renting him another room. So that's what upset me and that's what upset him. He was still staying here for a couple weeks after that, but they wouldn't let me keep my room in my name. So somehow it got moved to me, and my son is being authorized guest, and this what he's saying, an illegal immigrant's name, well, it isn't even his name. It's just some fake ID name at the top instead of letting me, which I was born here. I'm a U.S. citizen, and I showed them my state ID, but so because he took all my papers, they forced him. Well, they did, because they said you have to get out if you don't have someone come down here to the office right now at this moment with a valid ID, to put a valid government ID, to put this room in their name.